But the leading story in the papers today, aside from all the expenses stuff, is the news that Katie Price and Peter Andre have separated after 3.5 years of marriage. The couple, who have, of course, lived their relationship in the public eye in numerous fly-on-the-wall reality shows, are now asking for privacy at this difficult time. So, should the press give them a break during what is, for anyone, no matter what walk of life you might be in, a pretty horrible time?
Well, I'm very sorry for them and their marriage breaking down and everything. We've all been there, but I think it's pushing your luck to ask for privacy. When you've done, I don't know how many series about their private life, you know, warts and all, well, this is the warts, isn't it? And I don't think, no, I'm afraid you can't. You've got to go with the flow, really.
What do you think?
It's a pretty big wart, though, isn't it? And it's a wart for the kids, because that's what I worry about. I mean, they didn't ask to be put on television 24/7, did they? And divorce is horrendous, and it's particularly horrendous for the children. So I think the press should leave them alone for the kids' sake. I really do.
But the kids have already had a terrible time. They're not, I mean, they've been wheeled out. You know, they're on the television all the time. These
Do you think
children,
that's all they know then? So it's not going to make any difference.
That's the only life they have.
Well, I think,
let's be honest, being on the television is not going to make a difference. Their parents divorcing is horrible.
That's the horrible thing.
Terrible, you know.
But who wants to see children upset by that? I don't want to.
Well, nobody does.
Want to know.
And I would imagine that the press will probably steer clear of trying to photograph the children in any way.
Yeah.
But I would think they will be all over like a bad rash. Katie and Peter Andre, as they are in the good times. I don't see them for 1 minute stepping back, and I think that's kind of the deal they've done, isn't it?
I think they have done a deal.
They've sold their personal lives.
I
And
have to say, though, Jack, I do think there is a line. I mean, there has to be a line, doesn't there? Yeah. And I mean, maybe they've gone over that line, but for the children's sake, for goodness sake, let Peter and Katie now say that's it. Stop. Go away from my door. I mean, the only time I had that when it was really bad was when my father died, and I was in Curry, and I did sit. The press at the time said to them, you know, the press at Coronation, please leave her alone, because I was just devastated, obviously. And I opened the door, and we, you know, at the funeral, and there they were, click, 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 and it is very intrusive. But I've never played my life like Kate and Peter in the media.
well,
that's the difference.
so that does entitle you, therefore, to privacy. But I think when you kind of when you sell what goes on behind closed doors, and when you open that door, I think it's very hard to unring that bell.
Just take the children away, though. Keep the children away from it.
Well, of course, Katie has been in the papers quite a lot recently. She's been photographed out and about on her own, partying out on the tiles. And Peter Andre, although he's staying tight-lipped at the moment, he has said in his autobiography, I trust her when she's sober, but not when she's drinking. It makes our relationship vulnerable. And from the moment she starts drinking, I lose her, and I won't get her back until the next morning. So have there been those moments in our lives where you feel like you've lost your partner, you've disconnected temporarily, whether it be through alcohol or anything else?
Raise my hand, but can I, before I start this story, every time I talk about alcohol, I pick up a magazine the next day and it says I'm an alcoholic. I'm not an alcoholic, nor was I a drunk, but I drank too much. Thank you. But actually, I have a very poignant story about that. When I met Michael, Mr. Spain, my now husband, we both drank too much, or, you know, sometimes we had too much to drink. We had a good time. We were together, and he gave up drinking for medical reasons, and I continued on my own. Because why shouldn't I have a good time? But one day we used to have those long lunches. I mean, all my friends, you know, you go out for Sunday lunch and it would last all day and well into the night, and it is quite boring when you don't drink, and I now find them quite, you know, quite dull. But Michael didn't try to stop me drinking, but he said, look, now I don't drink. It is boring, and I'm not going to come over from Spain and spend all Sunday with you when you're inebriated, you know, so I'll come. Let me know if you're going out to lunch, that's fine, and I'll come the weekends you're not. Very clever, really. And it lasted 2 weeks, you know, and I thought, oh, I'm not having such a good time now. And we both gave up drinking, and it was a huge divide between us, and it you know, he meant more to me than anything. And I think there comes a point where you do start to drift apart for all sorts of different reasons. With us, it could have been much worse. If it had ended up with me continuing to drink and him not to drink, I don't think we'd have a relationship.
But the thing is, when you drink, though, you've got to drink together to have a good time, haven't you? And if one of you is, it's just, you're right. Isn't it boring?
Yeah, very boring.
But it's so easy, isn't it, to start to just lose your partner without even realising it. I'm actually feeling...
Oh, I'm glad I lost mine.
You realise it,
Yeah.
No, but I'm feeling a little bit vulnerable in that way myself at the moment because, well, as you might know, I'm doing 8 shows a week at the moment at the Savoy and Carousel, and I've never done that before, and I'm now in my 8th month of doing that. And Peter, my husband's a doctor, and he's at work all day. He does the day shift, I'm doing the night shift, and we're hardly ever seeing each other, and I'm really finding that incredibly hard. I mean, he kind of crawls into the theatre once a week and falls asleep on my settee just so we can get to see each other.
Yeah.
And I mean, I kind of gave up doing international work, you know, international opera particularly, because I didn't want this to happen. I just wanted us to be together, and I only took on work that kept me in this country, particularly in London.
Yeah.
And now, even though I'm in London, I'm still not seeing him, and I'm really getting scared, to be honest. I'm really getting scared.
In life, and that's the choice you've got to make next, though.
But I didn't realise this would happen. You know, it sort of crept up on
Well,
me unawares.
I think it does, even with, you know, in an ideal relationship like yours, you're very happy with Peter, but I do think that physically not being with people, and I did see it a lot sort of in my days in Los Angeles. You know, obviously marriages don't survive very long. There very few do, and it's because they may be the perfect match, a match made in heaven. But if you do not spend the time together, that connection goes.
Absolutely.
That sort of day-to-day living. Of course, you can be with the wrong people, and the connection's never there to start with.
Well, that's yes.
And then it's just one long grapple trying to find it.
No, I avoided every situation, I have to say, but I mean, I had a thing with my husband with drink and things like that, that, you know, I just didn't want to be in the situation and didn't know how to get out. So I'm opposite to you. I would have been so thrilled in your situation, think, oh, do you know, I don't have to go home, I don't have to be... So I was...
The complete opposite.
Oh, I'd have been so thrilled. Oh, I'm not going to see him for 8 days. How wonderful is that?
No, but Sherrie, when you still were involved emotionally with him, and if you saw that coming, you know, there is a moment where you think this can go one way or the other, and you either grab it and try to do something about it, because actually if you do let it go, then the distance gets further and further and further away. And
Yeah,
I
at
think
least I've seen what's happening,
knowing
so I've
what's
got a chance
going on,
to do
you
something
have a
about
chance
it.
to do something
And you'll
about
make
it.
decisions. I mean,
Yes.
if somebody comes to you at the end of this 8 months run, which has been fairly grueling and taken its toll, and says, "How would you like another 8 months run?"
Yes, what you
know,
say then?
But it is hard because I love the work. I mean, I do love being in Carousel,
Yes.
and it's fabulous. It's that kind of pull that's just really difficult to deal with.
Yes,
isn't it?
but you've
I
got to
won't
stay
do
at
it.
home, girl, now.
Yes, Cherry, stay at home. Be good.
Don't